So I'm out in the garden. It's pretty chilly out here. I've brought my favorite mug out here. Life is good in the garden. And it is a very crisp January morning. And I thought I'd take you along and share some chores that I'm doing right now to get ready for growing. So one of the first things that I have been working on, and this has been the last few weeks, is I have been doing some major garden planning. And that I'm going to have another video on in more detail. But basically, I've just had my basic garden layout, and I've been planning out where I'm going to plant which crops, and how I'm going to interplant some things, and how I'm going to rotate my crops, and how many different crops I'm going to be able to grow in one space with some of those shorter season crops, longer season crops. And so I'll have a whole nother video on that. But I have been spending a lot of time inside by the fireplace with some coffee, making my garden plans. It's one of my favorite things to do in wintertime is just geek out on all the garden plan things. Another thing that I've been working on a lot these last few weeks is getting all of my seeds organized. I have so many seeds, and in the hustle and bustle of summertime and fall planting, those seeds tend to get all mixed up, and so I've spent some time, my kids have helped me reorganizing all my seeds. I was actually kind of surprised by the seeds that I thought I had a lot of, that maybe I didn't have as many of, and I need to go ahead and be ordering those, and then seeds that I didn't even realize I had way too many of. So that is another thing that I've been working on the days that were too cool out, or it was snowing or whatever. I've just been inside getting those seed packages all organized and ready to go, so I can see what I need to order. So once I got my seeds all organized, and I was able to see what I had and what I need to order, and I have my garden plan already written out, that is when I can put those two things together, list together, and decide what seeds do I need to order. January is a great time to go ahead and order your seeds, because February and March, April, things get crazy and a lot of popular seeds will go out of stock. So really late fall, early winter is the best time to order your seeds, because most seeds are coming back in stock. People have already started to order their seeds now, so don't wait too much later to get those seed orders in, especially if you have particular varieties that you really have your heart set on growing. So that was all the things that you could be working on inside. The next thing that I'm working on is out here, and I have been clearing out and prepping all of my raised beds and getting those ready. So they are ready to go for my early spring crops. It will not be too long before I'm able to start planting some things out here under cover. So I want to make sure all of this is cleaned up and ready to go as soon as those plants are ready. And then I have went behind, and I have also been cleaning up all of our trellising. You can see, like right here, we have this type of fencing trellises. I don't know if you can see back here, but we have teepees. Those, I actually have them right here because I'm working on them. They have a ton of vines and old strings. I always use strings on mine that can be composted, because they do tend to break down. Some of this is vine, some of it is the actual string. So I've taken those down. I'm working on cutting all of this away, prepping these and get them cleaned up really well. This is a teepee, what I would use for one of my bean teepees or peas. I gotta get these ready because peas are a really early crop here that I really need to get coming season, so it's important that I get all of these cleaned up, and it's pretty messy. So and the same with our fencing trellises. We have ties where we had tied up tomatoes and pumpkins and whatnot, and I've been going behind and clipping all of those ties and getting those ready, and then any trellising that maybe broke or need situated, I've been just working on fixing all of those as well, so that we are ready to go when it is time to plant peas, because peas are my favorite thing probably to grow in the garden. If I don't get them in time though, I usually don't get a great harvest, so I'm really hoping this year to get a great harvest of peas, because they may be my very favorite thing to grow in the garden. And I've also we have my kid has a pet rabbit, but we use the mulch from her bedding. It's we go ahead and spread that out over some of our raised beds, not all of them, to add as extra ground covering, kind of as a mulch. It contains all of the rabbit's droppings, which are you don't have to compost a rabbit's manure before you use it on the garden. You can just add that right onto your garden. So that's exactly what we do with it. It goes straight from the rabbit cage over here. And so that is what you see kind of behind me here. You can tell that there is like a mulch here and not on these other raised beds. Okay, so the next thing that I did after I've cleared up my beds is I'm getting ready to add amendments and get my soil prepped. So I am not doing soil testing this year. This is only our second growing season with the soil that is in all of these raised beds. So I'm pretty confident on where they are with growing. And what I'm just adding compost and manure from our animals, like our goats and our chickens that are watching me right now. I'm just adding a fresh layer of that to the top of all of these because this is fairly new soil, and it did great with the growing season. I wasn't seeing a lot of stress from my soil yet. So I'm not doing soil testing this year, but if it's your first time using your garden and you don't know what type of soil you have, I would highly recommend that you do soil testing, and you need to do that now because it can take a few weeks to get back your results. And then after you get those results back and you add your amendments that they recommend, it can take months for the soil to actually be fully amended. Now is a great time to go ahead and get that soil tested and add your amendments. If you're pretty confident with where your soil is now, right now is also a great time to go ahead and add your compost and your manure, whatever you're going to use to get those beds ready. So early spring, they're ready to go. Things like cabbage and broccoli and those brassicas are actually pretty heavy feeders, so you're going to want to make sure that that soil has plenty of nutrients to feed those early spring plants and crops. So that's really, really important whenever you're starting out your new planting season. Okay, so the next thing I'm working on, and this is something I say every year in the fall that I'm going to do it then, and then things get crazy and things get left behind in the garden. I don't even realize how many of these get left behind until I go around and I start gathering them all, and that is all of my planting pots. You can tell it's very cold outside. So I went through it and I have gathered up all of these. I have lots of different kinds and just all sorts of things that have gotten left behind in my garden. And also chicken feather. I've just been picking up all of these, and then the other thing that I've been going around making sure they're all pulled up out of my beds are all of my plant markers. A lot of these I can even reuse again, and so I've been going around collecting all of those. And then I'm going to take these inside because it's way too cold out here to be washing anything. But I'm going to be taking these inside and giving them a good wash in soapy water and making sure that maybe some vinegar or something like that as well with it. Make sure that we have killed anything that might be lurking inside of these because snails love to get in here, and if I have any snail eggs, it just creates a whole problem. Also, you can get different soil diseases and stuff that could be lurking in here that I do not want to pass along to my new plants when I start them in this. The other thing that this gives me so I get all these washed up and then I can count them all, and I do plant sales, so I need to make sure that I have plenty of containers going into my next season before my plant sales. So I'll be doing some inventory of all of these and going ahead and getting in my orders for any of my containers that I will need, as well as I'm pretty sure I still have enough of these, but these are very cheap on Amazon. And one thing that I noticed because I use it in my kitchen as well, as I need to buy some more waterproof markers. Our last one is almost at the end of its life, so I need to make sure I have those at home and ready to go when I starting my seeds. So I've gathered all these up, and I'm going to be washing them and taking inventory of all of my containers, and as well as my bigger things that I might plant like potatoes in, like my buckets and such as that. I'll also give those a good washing and everything and have those ready to go as well. Okay, so the next thing I am working on is gathering up all of our debris. Like this is our sunflower stalks from our giant sunflowers, making the garden so messy. And I did not get these cleaned up, not all of them, in the fall. So see here, I got a wheelbarrow. I've actually had several wheelbarrows of these. This is sunflowers and our regular flower stalks. I did go through and made sure I removed any last seeds that were on any of the heads of our zinnias and sunflowers and whatever that the birds hadn't already picked through, and sprinkled them around, scattered them where I wanted those to be. And then I pulled up all of the remaining stalks here, and I'm going to haul these off either to the compost pile or to the burn pile. Either way, they will make it back into the garden as either wood ash or as part of our compost. So the last thing that I'm doing in January, starting this week actually, is I am starting seeds. Even in January, there is seeds that we can be starting here in Zone 7. I live in Tennessee. And one of the first ones that I will be starting are onions. I really need my onions to come to be ready to harvest early on in the season. So in order to have that, I need to start my onion seeds like now. I really need my onions to come. We even started them a week or two ago. So I'm starting those now. I'll also be starting things that have a really long growing season, like Brussels sprouts, and then not long after that I will be starting my broccoli and my cabbage and my cauliflower. All of those brassicas I'll be starting very soon, some of those starting this week, because they take a long time and our springs get warm very quick. So in order for me to have a productive brassica crop come to harvest before all the bugs arrive and before the warm weather gets here and makes them want to bolt, I need to start my seeds very early and then move them out here under cover so they can really get a head start on growing and be ready to harvest. I also have limited amount of space, and so I need to get those out of the ground so I can get my warm weather crops in right away. So that is another reason why I'm starting those seeds right now. Let's see, I will actually be putting my pea seeds out in about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, just direct sowing them. I'll probably direct sow those undercover. And herbs are something that really do need to be started indoors quite early, because there are a lot of herb seeds that take a very long time to germinate and then to grow. Some of the other seeds that I will be starting this week are kale and spinach. They're very hardy crops, so I can move them out pretty quickly, but I want to get them, they're not going to germinate out here, it's way too cold. So I'm going to get those germinated and started off until they're a nice healthy plant, and then I'll be moving those out to my garden pretty soon as well. And I'm also going to be starting some microgreen seeds inside for my leafy green lettuces, just so we can have some fresh lettuce available. I've been meaning to do that for a month and I keep putting it off. So while I'm already starting my other seeds and when I have my seed stuff set up, I'm going to go ahead and start some microgreens as well, so that we can have some lettuce, because lettuce has almost doubled in price here. I don't know about where you live, so I really need to have some fresh lettuce on hand that I'm not having to buy from the store. So those are the things that I'm going to be starting from seed this week, and those are the things I've been working on here in January. I know it seems like spring is far away, but really our growing season is just right around the corner, and I have a lot of things to do to get ready for it. Hopefully these have given you some ideas on what you could be working on wherever you are as well, and I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. Bye.